Hi everyone, Gordon here, and I'm actually at our van in the storage lot right now, just doing a couple things after returning back from a trip. So in this video, what we thought we'd share with you is a reconnaissance trip I did to Downing Provincial Park, which is near Clinton, BC, and then a hike that I did to Mount Outram, which is just right on the end of Manning Park. So hope you enjoy this video. So our friend Henry Wang had actually contacted me and asked if I could help him on a dive that he was going to do at Downing Provincial Park. There's a lake there called Kelly Lake. We'd planned to go up, stay a couple of nights, and then he would do the dive and I'd just provide some land support. Now things just didn't work out and Henry had to cancel the trip. So I thought, well, I've got the time booked. I may as well just go out and do just a reconnaissance trip. I'll drive up, take a look at the park, and then just come back. Mickey really didn't want to come along because the temperatures were going to be very hot. It's going to be about 38 degrees. It actually was 38 degrees on my way back. And it's just too hot to have Finch in the van if it's that hot. Plus, we just actually had him back from the vet. Nothing serious. He just had some dental work done, so he was just recovering from that process. So he was going to stay home and I was going to carry on originally with Henry, and he would go up in his trailer and I would take the van. Then when Henry canceled, I thought, well, you know what, I'm just going to do a reconnaissance trip. So I left Vancouver about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which is a little late because rush hour traffic is starting. So there was, typical traffic congestion as I was heading out towards the Fraser Valley. So once I got out of the lower mainland and actually more into the Fraser Valley, the traffic was a little lighter. If you're going to go to Downing Provincial Park, at least the route I was taking, you're going to probably choose going through the Fraser Canyon, which is actually one of our favorite drives anyway. You get to go through along the Fraser River, and then of course you're in canyons and there's some wonderful tunnels. It's just great. But as you get closer to the Lytton area, there's a lot of construction. Several years ago, as you know, there were wildfires, and then there was heavy rainstorms and mudslides and things. So there's a lot of construction still being done on the road. So that was a bit slow as well. So it was closer to 6:30 and I was in the Lytton area just heading through, and it was still probably like an hour and a half before I was going to make it to Downing Provincial Park. And I was tired. And then I remembered that Kumsheen River Rafting also has some RV sites. I'd seen a sign at one time when we driven by, and it's just, a few kilometers past Lytton. So I decided, I'll pull in. It's now, I think, 6 o'clock or 6:30. I'll pull in, I see if they have any spots, and I'll just stay for a night. And that actually turned out to be like a wonderful evening. So when I went in, they've got a nice sort of lobby area, coffee bar, nice little lounge, beautiful little building. And I asked if there were any sites, and to be honest, I think I was the only RV there. And what they have there is they actually have 6 RV sites that are kind of closer to the highway and oversee some of the rest of their facility, a number of tenting sites. So in a van, a tenting site was pretty much going to work. So they put me in a wonderful spot, number 29. And I just had like a great view of the Fraser Canyon, great views to the east and to the west. It was just a great spot. All right, my spot for the evening. Spot number 29, $39 plus tax. Nice. Could have probably pulled the van a little farther forward, and I think it'll be a bit flatter. But otherwise, what a view. And no one seems next to me in the tent huts they have. Beautiful. Hot. It's about 32. That's not too bad for this area. You can see some of the trees over here, even the ones above me. I had fire several years ago. That's Ski His Park over there, and you can see the trees where they've been burned up the hillside. And I think that's a day use area. That's kind of off to the west. It's just about 6 o'clock at night right now, so the sun will set kind of over there. They have a nice looking restaurant. There's actually a swimming pool farther over and a hot tub. I don't know if I'll get to that or not. Mickey, you're going to be jealous. I wish you guys were here. Finch might find it a little warm, and I don't think he's that big on hot tubs. It's beautiful. I pulled in here kind of just spur of the moment, and I'm really pleased. It's a very nice campsite. Obviously where I've managed to park our van, albeit it's not quite flat, it's a spectacular view. The area itself is really nice. As you know, we really like the Lytton area. Here they also have some teepees, and they have some tent cabins you can rent. Some of them are actually right along the canyon, so it's pretty cool, pretty nice place. About the only negative thing I would say about this particular camping area is you've got the railway tracks literally right on the other side of the bank. You've got one across the river and one right behind you. So trains come by reasonably frequently and you'll be able to hear them. If you haven't watched our video at Goldpan Provincial Park, it's called, I think, You Must Like Trains to Camp Here. You take a look at that, we'll put a link to it. Very similar kind of noise. So I sat there, had some dinner, and just enjoyed the still warm evening. Wandered around the whole facility. Bathrooms were nice. They've got some cats, which were kind of cute. I saw them the next morning. Hello, how are you? Hi, how are you? Oh, hi. You're a handsome kitty cat, yes. Their whole resort, if you will, has a number of different options. You can stay in an RV, and they have, I think, 6 RV places that have power and a number of tenting sites. Many of them would actually work quite well for a small RV and certainly a van. They also have what I thought was really cool, these canvas cabins. And they also have some teepees, and there's some canvas cabins and teepees sort of at one side, more to the east side, and then some more on the west side. So it's just a beautiful area, and the temperature when I was there was really nice. It was probably low 30s, which in that area with the low humidity was quite reasonable. And then the evening started to cool. I slept for a while with my doors open, and then closed them up and just had the fan and the windows open. And yeah, it worked really well. So I actually thought of spending most of the evening with all the doors and back door open, but they do occasionally have bears in that area, and I thought that was probably not the smartest move. So highly recommend Kumsheen Rafting and resort that they have if you need to spend a night or two. It was just wonderful. Really enjoyed it. So the next morning I actually got up and drove to Clinton and stopped at this great little restaurant. Had a wonderful vegetarian omelet. Service was just really nice. I really enjoyed the little restaurant, cute little place. And then carried on, and Downing Provincial Park, I think it's 16 kilometers, so it's about a 15-minute drive. Now when I got to the park, it's very small. It's got a beautiful lake. I think it's really good probably for fishing. There's a nice little picnicking area you can go down to with a covered area to get you out of the sun. Very beautiful spot. In terms of campsites, I think there's probably 14. Most of the better ones, I would say, were taken when I got there. I pulled in one that I thought I might spend the night in, and I walked around, just took a look at the lake, but it was already getting to be pretty warm. And I looked at the temperature, and I thought, well, it's, I'm probably here, it's about noon. I could go for a paddle, but it's just, the sun's just baking. And I'm by myself this time, and I've had a wonderful night last night. I thought, I've had enough. So I'll just go around, take a look at the campsite, have a good idea of what it's like, and then I'll just head home. So I did. And I'm pleased I did, because the temperature that day got very warm. On the way back, I was seeing temperatures of about 38, just too hot. We're not used to it. But it was a really wonderful trip. I enjoyed the whole drive through the Fraser Canyon, and then you go through the Cariboo area. So especially the lower sections around Ashcroft. It's beautiful. It's like desert area. And then Clinton is a wonderful area, green with lots of lakes around the area. Just a gorgeous little village. And Downing looks like a beautiful little small campsite. If you like to fish or want to camp near some water. None of the sites are actually right on the lake. It didn't look like. Most of them are a little bit back, but there was a few decent sites. It's first come, first serve, so you take your chance. But yeah, really enjoyed the trip overall. A lot of unexpected, great things came out of a quick, short reconnaissance trip. So the other thing we wanted to share in this video is a hike I did recently up to Mount Outram. Now Mount Outram is a fairly hard hike in terms of elevation gain. I think it's about 1,800 meters or 5,900 feet, I think, in elevation gain in terms of climbing. The mountain itself is just a little over 8,000 feet. So if you watched our video from last week, you saw that I had gone up to Mount Frosty, and Mount Frosty is just a little bit lower than Mount Outram. The start of the hike is right at the west gate to Manning Park, where the big marmot is. You pull in there, there's a couple of washrooms there, pit toilets, but you pull in there and then you start the trail. The trail itself isn't that long. It's about 9 kilometers to get to the summit. So 18 kilometers return, but it's a steep trail. Like the average grade for Mount Outram is twice that of the average grade for Mount Frosty. There are very few sections that aren't uphill, and especially the last sort of hour or so is just a steady rock climb up the mountain. mountain itself is actually not in the park. It's just right on the outskirts. So the trail is maintained by private volunteer groups. So it's a good trail. There was a little bit of deadfall on part of it. It starts actually kind of interesting. You start off on the old engineers road that existed back in probably, I guess, the 1800s. And then it eventually branches off. Mount Outram to the left and goes past trail straight ahead. So here's the unusual thing about this trail. The trip actually starts in Manning Park, but then most of it is outside of the park boundary. So from here on in, and the summit is out of the park. Just after that park sign, the trail gets steep for probably, I don't know, a half hour or so. You get an idea of the grade here and sort of idea how much elevation we've gained, or I've gained. Highways down below. So far, beautiful day. This section's all green and mossy. Always makes me want to lie down and sleep. Maybe on the way back. No bugs so far. Then you get to a nice little creek that every time I've been there at least has had water, which is nice. So this is the first water spot really on the trail, and for me today it was just a little under 2 hours, maybe an hour and 50 minutes, something like that. It's just beautiful. And there's a cool breeze here too, which is kind of nice. You get about 1,500 meters elevation, so you get about roughly 900 meters of elevation to go. The steep part's still ahead, and it's been steep pretty much all the way up here. Getting closer to the first meadow, just kind of at the top of that hill. A lot of flowers there, right ahead of me. Beautiful. But typically, this is the most beautiful part of the trail. Got lots of flowers, probably a little early for most. Still beautiful, you can just see the orange and the purple. And all white and red. Nice view of one of the upper meadows. And then it's a pretty nice view of the Cascades. I'm up in the subalpine now. Summit's up on that ridge farther back. It's unfortunately a little higher than what you see, which is beautiful. It's getting hot and I'm sweating buckets. I'm looking forward to that next bump because there's usually a little pond up there. So here's the meadow. Route up is up there, and it's just a long grind. And then once you get past that, you get up to a little pond at, I think it's probably about the 6,000 foot mark. And it's a beautiful little area. There's a little kind of valley plateau there, I guess. It's very nice. You get some wonderful views. You can look back. You can see Mount Baker. You can see a lot of the mountains. Also, if you look back a little bit more, you can see some of the mountains that are in Manning Park. So just gorgeous. Even a hike just getting to the pond would be a worthwhile day for many people. You know, these look like almost like some form of cactus, even though we're about 6,000 feet and in the mountains. Now it's actually once you leave the pond that the hiking gets hard. The distance isn't that far, it's probably only a couple kilometers, but it's just steep and rocky and it's sort of hard to follow the trail. There's not really a trail, there's some markings on some rock, and you eventually will work your way up to the top of the ridge, and then the summit, or really the sort of false summit for Mount Outram. So this last part, it's all rocks like this. Makes the last section of Mount Frosty look easy. The summit's actually up and back there farther. Gotta work your way up. You can see somebody ahead of me with an orange pack. Okay, I've been going for about an hour since that little pond, a little less. See some snow ahead of me. Summit up there still. Long way. Gorgeous views behind and beside. Alright. Suck it up and get it done, I guess. Mount Outram itself, the actual summit, is just a little bit past the summit that most people stop at. And I stop there, I think 90% of the time people just stop there because the next section's a little bit of a scramble. And it's not just a physical effort, although it's steep and hard to do. It's just mentally crossing this rock that just doesn't ever seem to end that makes it tough. When you do get up to the top, though, you get amazing views all around. You see some of the area. You can look back to the park. You can see down to the United States. You can see back into the Fraser Valley. And I've done this several times. Normally, Outram is not, there's not a lot of people on the trip. But I did choose to go on a Saturday. So there was a large group of people taking photos and having, actually it was really fun to see them and just to chat with them. They were a really nice group of people that had hiked up for the day. I'm actually up just a little bit, I guess, east of the summit for Mount Outram, which is over there. It's a long trip to get here. The summit itself is just a little over 2,400 meters, actually a little over 8,000 feet. It's busy. There's a crowd of cars at the parking lot when I came in, and then a group of people up here at the top. Now these people were actually at the start of the trailhead at 4:45 this morning, and I thought I was doing well when I started at 8:30. So anyway, it's beautiful. You get some amazing views from up here. You can see also down to Mount Baker, which is a different angle than we normally see it near Vancouver. It's just beautiful. So I'm going to have some quick lunch and then head down. The funny part was, for maybe 10 minutes, there's all these people around the summit getting pictures. They took a few pictures of me. And then like 10 minutes later, there was no one, just empty, just me. Now there's the summit about 5 minutes after everyone's left. Sunshine Village. Gorgeous views, a little hazy from the wildfires. All right, time to head down, join the crowd. They all went that way. Now, if you're curious about route, there are some people have marked a little bit with a cairn, but there's also some old paint on these rocks. I think I actually, maybe 20 years ago, helped remark the trail. Anyway, it's pretty straightforward. The hard part's just walking on the rocks. Easier than coming up, but harder walking out. Here with the wind, but that's the way back. And I've caught up to some of the people. The section, not pleasant, builds character though. On my way down, and as tough as going over those big rocks are, it's still a lot easier than going up them. So you can see the second lake over there. You can work your way around from the main pond back there into that lake. I've actually swum in that lake a couple of times. Main pond down by the first meadow, and there's a creek that goes out of the bottom of it. So it gets a little bit of water coming out of the hillside here. You can see there's 1, 2, I think 3, 4 tents down there now. So I ran out of water. I'm very, very thirsty. Plus, it's getting really hot here now. So the sound of that creek I've been imagining for the last little bit, just ahead of me. It's the same creek I crossed on the way up. So I only brought 2.5 liters of water. I probably should have brought 3. But worse, my half-liter bottle cracked and was leaking. I didn't notice it when I was walking uphill. It was probably dripping behind me. I noticed it when I started coming downhill, and I could feel these little drips every so often on my leg. That said, I have a Be Free by Katadyn. Similar in a sense to the life straws or water straws, but this, you can just take this top off, fill it full of water, and then sip it into your mouth. It doesn't squeeze very well, but I guess I could actually, what I'm going to try and do is fill one of my other water bottles with it as well. And I'm also going to take off my boots and my socks and wade for a few minutes in this water. Just got to cool down the feet. There's the bag, if you will, for the water. And there's the filter. So you just have to fill the bag, and you can drink through here. Just want to make sure you dry off the bag so you're not drinking any water from the outside that hasn't gone through the filter. 0.4 of a liter. It's good. And it's cool. Hopefully the filter works. Katadyn's a pretty reputable company. More to follow. It's a good place to refill with water, and it allowed me to drink a lot. I was actually going to sort of scamper about in the creek, but that whole group of hikers that I'd seen up on the summit, they came down a few minutes later. So suddenly this quiet little spot with a beautiful creek was busy with a dozen different people all splashing their feet in the water and getting fresh water. And I did manage to get some fresh water before they arrived, rehydrate, and then headed out. A very nice sign to end a trip with. They obviously haven't seen me after this trip, but still nice. I recommend Mount Outram. It's a very hard hike. At some point, Mickey and I will do a video of our favorite hikes in Manning Park. This would probably be on the list, and we'd also list it as the hardest hike. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. The next week I've got another trip. Mickey's still working on getting back into hiking shape, so I'm actually doing a backpack with a friend of ours, someone who you've seen on our channel before, so I'm hoping you'll enjoy that as well. So Mickey and I and Finch will see you soon.